Okay.
Okay, we are live. So this is our wrap-up summary meeting to My Big Toe, the book. And yeah, I can't remember what Vanessa says with the intentions and all that, but just be honest, show up, and things like that. So I think we all know what it is, so I don't think I have to repeat it.
Yeah.
So yeah, maybe we could all share do a little debrief and see how this week has gone with everyone, and you know, we'll go with, how about Leo? Why don't we start with you, Leo?
Okay. Let's see. Well, I've noticed I'm more aware of seeing, just in interactions with other people and even in myself, I'm more aware of, well, first of all, the idea of being high entropy. Like if I'm upset by something, or somebody else is, like my daughter was really upset this morning. And you can see how that's just wasted energy. And I never really thought of it that way before. But if you just put it in terms of energy being wasted, even though it's real sort of technical, as opposed to, it's not emotional. I think that's probably the good thing. Because if you're really in the thick of being all upset about something like my insurance, and you know, you can get all crazy, like, why are these people so stupid? If you just kind of check at it from the point of view of, wait a minute, how's my entropy doing? You know, it just takes it out of that, well, I'm so right, damn it, you know, that kind of thing. So that's one thing. And then the other thing is just kind of noticing in other people and also in myself, you can really see where decisions are being fear-based. You know, that they're holding on to, they're worried. I mean, just any kind of worry, like trying to impress somebody, or trying to hold on to something, or not wanting to share, or anything like that. It all goes back to a feeling of not being good enough, or I don't have enough, or I won't be taken care of, or anything like that. Again, it's sort of a simplification, but simplifications are useful sometimes in order to be able to get your handle on what you want to do about it.
Okay.
So I've just noticed that, and I'll pass.
Pass.
Christine, you're next on my.
I'm next on the round.
Yeah.
I don't know specifically this week, but I feel like the book in general has, what you said, Leo, does make a lot of sense to me. Like, I do understand that I see what people are, you can kind of have a better understanding of where they're coming from, right? And where those decisions or their motivations are coming from, because sometimes it's from fear. I do think it's also interesting I feel like in general, I feel more calm about things. Like, this book has helped me be a little more calm, because you can, if you just attribute it, if you had some sort of anxiety, right, and you didn't know what it was, when you can kind of be like, okay, this anxiety is some kind of fear. It's like you can kind of just put a name on it and then move beyond it, right? Because you're like, okay, well, what is that? Like, if you just sort of work on it, instead of it being this unnamed, unknowing sort of angst. So I do feel like a lot of, like, in general, the book has helped me, and the book and the discussions and sort of being reflective about the material has helped me be more calm about everything. I'm not perfect at all. Like, I definitely still overreact and get stressed out about stuff. But in general, I feel a little more clear and calm. And I think that's a huge takeaway for me from this book that I definitely didn't expect. You know, I didn't even really know what I was going into when I first went into the book.
Thanks. Has everyone spoken? Sorry, I had to step out for a sec.
No, only two of us. Only two.
Oh, okay.
Next.
How about you, Cheryl?
Well,
I came in at the end of the book, but I've been looking at Tom's work for the last 2 years. So can I go on that?
Sure.
What I found is from the theory of the work is that it made a huge change in my life, because once I understood that underneath everything, most of what was going on is coming out of fear or love, either, one of the two. And I was able to figure out that I was having, I guess you call them panic, fight, flight attacks, things. And I've had it my whole life, so I thought that was just normal. When I found Tom's work, I was able to figure out what was going on. And, I told Vanessa or some other people about it, that I made these bracelets, and I was able to stop the panic response. And now I'm just dealing with the basic normal fear that I had underneath it, instead of having those episodes all day. I think when we grow up in this type of culture, you have to stuff it, just stuff it and carry on. And I'd learned how to do it so well that I just became a really good actress. And, on the outside, I just maybe look stressed, but on the inside, I'm panicking, going, ah! So that's how his work has changed my life. And it's been a huge change. Everybody around me noticed the big change. What are you doing? And I said, well, I'm just trying to figure out what's going on and dealing with my fear. But don't say that word. People don't like it. It's hard. Fear is scary.
How do you just try to describe it if you don't use the word fear? How do you say it?
I started calling it anxiety, like you just talked about it. And I've made a lot of my bracelets, I can call them fear panic bracelets, and I've been giving them to my friends, and they work every time. And I just tell them, well, anytime you feel anxiety, just go to your bracelet and then recenter yourself, stop, and you're not in danger and everything's okay. And they'll take that information in that way. If you don't use the word fear, call it anxiety, which underneath anxiety, just like, Christine just said, is probably that low level fear stuff. Mm-hmm. So I think the anxiety, because that's a word that people understand. So I'm going to switch out the word fear with anxiety, because it just works better.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Y'all agree?
That's a good replacement. I notice that in these days, I know my son has it. He's got social anxiety. And I think that's because of the way the environment is, with all the technology, and he's a gamer. So he stays at home a lot. And he hates going outside, like even going out to eat at a restaurant, or even go to the mall and pick something to eat. He will not go. And it's quite amazing, right? So it's becoming a challenge as to how do you help someone overcome that. Mm-hmm. But I also realize that if he's doing something that he really likes, like he builds his own computers and 3D printers and things like that, if he needs something for those things, he'll go to the local Home Depot and buy the stuff. Mm-hmm. Right? So I think you've got to sort of challenge them with things that they'd like to do, and then kind of like help them force them to go. And then when you need to go ask the question, you don't ask it for them, and you got to get them to ask it for themselves, and that's how they learn and grow. But it's still a challenge to get them out of the house.
Is he an introvert?
He is an introvert, yes.
There it is.
Yeah.
And for introverts in public schools, it's so difficult for introverts. The classes are so big. And when they're around people, their energy gets drained out. Mm-hmm. And for extroverts, we feed off that energy. We're like, woo, yeah. So I live with an introvert, and he'll go out and do things, but I can tell he gets home, he's just drained. So I think that a lot of that is based in that area there. Yeah.
Well, I'm an introvert as well. And I realized that when I was working at TED Talks, when doing that whole week span, it was like great. And then the next week I just felt, why am I so tired? And I realized it was because I'm an introvert. I'm just trying to energize and go get my energy back from just being alone and just not wanting to do anything.
You have to recharge.
You have to recharge, exactly.
Yeah.
So it's just interesting that you bring that up in terms of introverts and energy levels and things like that.
Yes.
Yeah.
So just adding to, and then I think for introverts, technology has been a great thing because they can still interact to some degree without having all of their energy source just sucked dry.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that it's good and bad, like every new paradigm that comes in, like Tom talks about, you're going to have the really bad stuff first because everybody's learning how to use the technology. And using social media, for instance, as a platform to vent anger and frustration. That's one of the really bad side effects that we're having to the digital age. And so people are having to relearn, oh, if I'm mean to someone, even through here, it still hurts them. So there's going to be a huge learning curve, and we're in it right now.
Yeah.
Deeper
than ever before.
Deeper than ever before, and it's just going to keep going.
Yeah,
exactly. Go nowhere.
Exactly.
Yeah. Next.
So how about you, Mal? Any new awarenesses or what have you learned while reading this book?
Yes. Yes, mainly regarding what everybody has said. During the week, I was thinking how different I see everything, life in general, compared to, for example, 10 or 12 years ago. At that time, I didn't even know about this concept that really we are always reacting based on fear, some level of fear. And I thought, well, 10 or 12 years ago, everything seemed okay to me. I mean, why is this happening? Because nowadays I can at least realize, as Leo was saying, how everything I do at the end of the day has something to do with some kind of fear. And that's it's being quite a challenge for me right now. Yeah, but I what I think is okay. This is a part of a growing process. I didn't know about it before, but now that I know about it, and it's kind of difficult, but it's also a great opportunity to become something better than even that what I thought I was 10 years ago. Yeah, I was doing okay, but I was ignorant of many things that right now I am not. So yeah, I guess that growing is painful.
Yeah.
Tom took away our fuzzy ignorance.
Yeah. Right.
We weren't growing, and I feel the same way. The last 2 years have been a lot harder than the 10 before that. But I've worked through some fears, and my life is changing into what I would rather have. So in the end, I think that it's worth it. It's worth the suffering.
Do you think it's harder because we have a deeper understanding of all this?
Yes.
I think so. Yeah. Yeah, I think so. Yes. And the other thing that it's been hard for me is the fact that questioning everything or trying to not believe in anything. It's a hard process too, because even intellectually, just intellectually, I've been for the last few months constantly asking myself, where does this situation come from? okay, and then I start tracing back, and I realize that it is based on a belief. And I say, well, no, I have to be open-minded, totally open-minded, but a skeptic. So I need to question that, and I need to go to the root, trying to take away any belief. But doing that all day long, it's really tiring, really, really tiring. Yeah,
Hard losing your framework of reality that you've always lived with. It's
yeah,
very disorienting, and it does not feel very good when it first starts happening. It does not. You think you thought you knew what your life was doing and what was going on. Then all of a sudden you find out it had nothing to do with any of that.
yeah,
Yeah, it's very disorienting. I understand what you're saying. This work does cause a disorienting effect. I think it gets better though as we get further down the road into the concept of open-minded skepticism, because then those beliefs can't cause you fear anymore.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Because
Yeah, good news,
Mm-hmm.
great. Yeah.
right,
Mhm.
once you get kind of past some of the work piece of it, which I think we're all in right now, from
Right.
what I can tell.
Mhm. Wow.
I have a lot of clients that will tell me that, well, in order to be a good entrepreneur, you have to get up early in the morning and do yoga or exercise, right? And you read about all these books or reference material that have all the high paying entrepreneurs, the popular entrepreneurs. They have this process, they have this routine,
Mhm.
and the first thing I say to them is like, well, are you them? And they say no. Then why follow them? Like, it works for them, but it may not work for you,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So
Right.
then I say, well, what are you going to try? Like, and then I bring up that open-minded skepticism, right? Like, you have to try everything out yourself, explore it, and if it works, then great, apply it. But if it doesn't, find something else.
Yes.
Because we're all unique. We all have different schedules. We work best at certain times, and find out what works best when during our most productive times, and in those times do the stuff that really creates a value for you.
Mhm. Right.
And they go,
Yeah.
wow, I never thought of that before. And that's through Tom's teaching that you're able to say, okay, try this open-minded skepticism. Just because someone says it doesn't mean that it's real for you.
Mhm.
It's real for them, but not for you.
Yes.
And it's like an aha moment for them,
Mhm.
which I think is pretty cool.
Not your
Yeah.
experience, not your truth.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So Christine, did you watch Westworld?
Yeah. Yeah, I did watch it. I thought it was great. I was pretty tired, so I had to go watch it again, like the next
Uh-huh.
day. But
Yeah.
it's really good. What'd you think? Did anybody
I
else get
thought,
to the season 2?
No, not me. Season
yeah.
2, no.
Yeah,
Just
I watched it too, and it was awesome. It was very awesome, and I can't wait till the next episode.
I know we won't talk about it too much because we don't want any spoilers for anybody
I
else.
know it. Exactly.
But it's good. Watch it. I honestly, Mao, I know you've seen some of it, right?
Yes.
The one, yeah.
Yeah.
So, and Cheryl, that show, if you haven't seen it, I think, and Daniel, I don't know what your opinion is, it really helped me it sort of is like what Tom talks about in My Big Toe.
Hmm.
So it kind of helps you, I don't know, just understand it on some different level, right? It's a really complicated and thought-provoking show, but basically what it is about, well, what is it about, Daniel?
Well, basically, it's these beings creating a virtual reality,
Oh goodness.
and these virtual realities, these beings in this virtual reality lives out, their daily lives, and the beings who's created can actually go into this PMR, let's say, and change things around. They don't like it, they'll restart it and redo the whole sequence until they get it right. And now things are happening where I don't want to spoil it for you guys.
Yeah.
Okay, who is other? Is it aliens? Oh no.
No, they're not aliens. They look like human beings. They look like us, but they're able to create. Let's just say that they're able to 3D print these beings, and give them consciousness
Oh,
and free will, and they go through scenes and interact with other beings. They'll send people from the current reality into the virtual reality and play a part.
oh, that sounds a lot like what Tom's talks
It's
about.
exactly like how, and there's so many references that Christine and I will talk about when we talk about Tom's works and then bring it into Westworld. And we'll say, hey, did you see that part in Westworld, or remember this part in Westworld?
Right. So like as we were reading, like if you watch it and you then read the book, you can kind of see there's some correlations in how he describes a digital reality. And there are questions like, what is real, and there are questions about free will, and it's really cool to watch. If you guys like this book, you'll definitely like the show.
You know that
Yeah.
I'm sure there's some people in film and industry that know that this is probably a simulation of virtual reality. You know they do, because there's been The Matrix and there's been Avatar, that movie Avatar. I mean, it showed it right there. The guy goes to sleep and goes into another physical reality, right? So it's like they know something. They have to be able to write that stuff. So they're getting it from somewhere. Maybe they're channeling it. Who knows?
Yeah. Well, Elon Musk is even saying that we are living in a virtual reality.
Yes, he is.
Right? For someone like him to say it, that's pretty powerful, right? Look at the influences that he can put upon on his followers.
And Elon Musk's girlfriend is in Westworld.
Oh, really?
Oh,
I didn't know that.
Who is she?
there it is.
He's,
That makes a connection. That makes a
it's
connection.
I think her name's Tallulah Riley. She's the blonde one that's like the welcome wagon. She has like a white dress on.
Uh-huh. Yes. Yeah. Okay.
And later on you see her in different roles in the park, but yeah, that's his. I think they were married actually. I don't know.
Not a lot of violence
Interesting.
in it, is there?
Yeah, it's very violent.
Yeah, it's
I
pretty
still
gruesome
have-
at times.
I still have too much fear. I'm not allowed to watch things like that yet.
Okay.
I will be able to in the future, I'm sure. I'm still working on getting that entropy down, but
Yeah.
those things, they scare me. Then I'm in fear for the next 3 or 4 days.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd love to watch stuff like that though.
Yeah. No, it's a really good series, and I think HBO was having a promotion on that kind of stuff too for Westworld. It tells you how popular it is.
Maybe it's like everybody's pre-introduction before the hammer drops and everybody starts finding out that they're living in a virtual reality.
Yeah, it's a lot of really interesting ideas that people like really thinking about what all things mean. How does that apply to my life? Some really deep philosophical questions in that show.
It's going to spin a lot of heads around when the word gets out. It is. They're going to go, what is going on here? Oh my
Yeah.
God.
What is interesting is that this kind of this new way of looking at the world and our lives seems to be coming out from the edges, as Tom says, and getting more into the center, as in the last chapters that we read.
It's moving from innovation into the center. Yeah.
Into the center. So that's, that's exciting.
Yes.
Yeah.
It'll be nice in the future. So, because you really can't just, sit down and have a conversation with someone and tell somebody about this. I
Other
have
people have to be ready for it to accept it, right?
tried. You're not going to get belonging that way.
Yeah, no.
I mean, I still have a hard time describing what the book's even about, right? And I think at well, when I joined the book club, I felt like something I wish I had done is right at the end of every chapter, sort of doing bullet points, because especially in 2 and 3, it's so complicated that, I would have a hard time remembering what I just read, just because it's like you're just going through every single sentence trying to absorb what he's talking about,
Mhm.
Right.
Yeah, it really is a lot simpler than the book makes it out to be, I think.
You think so?
Yeah, yeah. And talking about like the culture getting ready for this kind of a message, there's been for like 100 years a lot of movement towards the idea that we can set our intentions to affect results. I mean, I like the way Tom Campbell says we're not affecting results, we're affecting probabilities. That makes sense to me. That actually, I think that really makes sense. But point is that a lot of what he's saying has been talked about by a lot of people, just in different contexts, different terminology,
Sure.
Mhm.
which is what I like about his work.
Mhm.
Kind of, yeah,
I think he even says that near the end of his book, whereas
yeah,
there's a lot of commonality what I'm teaching and other people are saying.
yeah,
So
Yes.
Saying and on back through time, it's been hinting at it forever.
Mm. Yes. Yes.
We didn't have computers, so there was nothing to reference it to. There was no way to connect it to anything. We have books, not computers.
Mhm.
right.
So who do y'all think
What do
Other
you
is?
What do you think of the idea of how he repeats the things over and over and over again? Like in so many of the chapters we've been reading, he'll repeat it and then repeat it again, and then you go to another chapter, he's repeating the same thing, but maybe change it slightly so that we get a little deeper understanding of it.
Mhm. Yes, exactly. Exactly. I think that.
There's been so many places where I don't know how many times he repeated, but do you think that helps us, or do you think that okay, well, we've heard this part already, like get on with it, right? Do you think he could have changed his book from 800 and some odd pages maybe down to 400, let's say, get a better understanding of it, or do you think the way he's doing it is a good way of sharing the information?
Well, I don't know if it's a good way of sharing the information. I think that it has to be intentional, right?
Uh-huh.
Although, because I'm like, he's such an intelligent person, I would be surprised if it was just, a lack of editing, right? Like keep repeating over and over and over again. But because I think it's intentional, because the material is so difficult that if you keep repeating it, it eventually is going to sink in, right?
Mm. Right.
Although the counterpoint to that is that when he talks on his videos, they're very long, right? So maybe it just is the way he talks, right? And the way he sort of frequently you see people write the same way that they talk,
Right.
So maybe that's just his manner. I don't know. I think there were times I was frustrated. I was like, oh my God, just get it out,
I'm there with you.
Right.
Right. But again, there are times where he would repeat that same part and then add a little spin to it because, oh, okay, now I understand why he's doing that.
Right. Yep.
I saw in one video, he doesn't go into the detail of it a whole lot, but in one video he did. It was about that he did not write the book for right brains, and I found that out. He didn't.
Mm-hmm.
He said that for left brain, it has to be logical process, and that you have to build it from step A, B to C to D. And he said, so what you do is you do, step A, and then the next time around, you add a little bit more to it. So I think that was his technique for left brains specifically.
Mhm.
Yeah. Sorry, Cherry.
Does
But
that make sense? I'm sorry.
yeah. And another thing to take into account is maybe that as he's writing for for everyone who wants to read the book, I think he might have considered that some of us will get one phrase in one chapter, and some others will get another phrase or another paragraph in another chapter, who's really saying the same, but in a slightly different way. And maybe he's trying to convey his message to as many people as possible at the price of being repetitive. But yeah, as Daniel said, it happens to me several times that I read something and I didn't really get it, but 2 or 3 chapters later, another paragraph said exactly the same thing, just with 2 or 3 different words or in a different context, and now I could say, I get it. So yeah, I definitely think it's on purpose.
Yeah, I think so too. What about the pace of of each chapter as you read it? Did it take a while to read each sentence and try to get an understanding of it, or did you just like it was like reading like a fiction book where you would just read,
No,
not even
For
think about
me,
it?
anyways, no.
no.
It was like studying for a class, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like the
Sometimes I
science
would have
book.
like a ruler and be like, okay, like go line by line, you know?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, no.
I have to admit that, I'm coming from the perspective of already having a spiritual tradition and being really interested in how his theory kind of intertwines with that in a really cool way and adds things that are sort of missing without subtracting anything. That I kind of skimmed a little bit. I mean, I read every word, but I wasn't like going, wow, the whole time. I was mostly interested in trying to fit it all together. And so when I started watching this group, when I found it online, I found that you guys were finding things in there because you were talking to each other about it and underlining things. And, I wasn't highlighting anything. So it was really good for me to see that you guys were scrutinizing it a little more thoughtfully. And it was helpful.
Oh, great.
And then I joined at the end, and I started. I printed out a copy because I just had the electronic version. I didn't have the book yet, so I was having paper so I could actually highlight things.
Right.
that's great. So how did you find us, Leo?
The group.
Yeah.
I think I found a Facebook group called MBT something.
Yeah. Okay.
And
MBT Global Thing or something like that.
yeah. And so I joined that, and so I started getting things on my feed. And I guess somebody posted something about low entropy, and I don't remember from there. Oh, I guess it was somebody posted one of your question and answer things that Vanessa hosted. I
Okay.
guess I said, "Wow, there's a group up in Vancouver," because I'm in Seattle. So,
Oh, nice.
and then I found your book discussion group. So that's how I found you.
Nice.
LCS did it.
Right. That's the real answer.
There
Yes.
you go.
Yeah.
And
So
Cheryl, how did you find that?
Go ahead.
Sorry.
How did you find it, Cheryl? The book group.
How did that happen? Oh, I'm going to the immersive group in 3 weeks, and they put up an email, and then it had everybody talking to everybody for the first time, the people that are going to be in the group. And Vanessa was part of that group, and so I saw her in there, and then I saw that it was her. I was like, wait, she looks familiar. And then I went back. She's in a lot of the fireside chats too. I was like,
Mhm.
okay, all right. And so then I went back to the email and said, hey, you're doing this book group. I want to do it too, and then she's like,
Nice.
oh, we're almost done. But I was glad because this is the first time I've talked to anybody else about a huge life-changing thing I've been going through. You just really can't, talk to anybody else about that. And
Exactly.
so this last week has been really nice because it's like I felt I've made contact. And
Mhm.
that there's other people that are going through this hard thing too. And so there's other, it's like feels like support or something. I don't know. Right.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
I did feel alone in doing the work. But I was persistent. I stuck with it and just did it anyway.
Mhm.
And so I just did it by myself for 2 years. And my partner loved the fact that I did this because I'm easier to live with. So when I, saw I was getting really good feedback, I was like, okay, Cheryl, this is just what you have to do. This is what it's about. You just have to do it. Then that other part of me is going, yeah, but this is scary. But the larger conscious system brings all the scary stuff right to you so you can deal with it, right?
You gotta face it to grow, right?
Right. Facing it to grow. And what I think helped me get through all this being alone is the larger conscious system has this really funny sense of humor. And so it would do stuff and it would relate to like things from my past and it would twist it around and make it into this hilarious slapstick thing. And I would just die laughing, all by myself, in this experience. It was just hilarious many times. And so I think that was the carrot out in front of me because I love comedy and I love laughing. It helps me a lot. So I think it just used that carrot. Come on, you can do it. So that's how I did it. Is it funny to y'all too? Does it do funny things to you guys too?
There'll be a lot of times where I'm experiencing things and I thought, have I been here before? Right? And
Like
I'll
for
I'll
example,
try to read. Yeah, it's like full circle, and I'll say, okay, I'm sure I've seen this before, and then I'll think about Tom and how he talks about us creating this memory of unactualized events and actualized events, right? So I thought, okay, well, what if I actually start playing this part and see how far it will go, and I'll just sort of daydream and try to see if see how far it goes, and sometimes it's helpful and sometimes it's not, right? But it's amazing how now that knowing about unactualized events and how your LCS or your TBC sort of creates your probability of um, of all these outcomes, you can then relive those parts in your NPMR, right? And see how it plays. Because at that time it only goes so far, but then you say, well, let's go take that part and just go a little further and see what would happen.
yeah,
And then you could say, okay, well, I could see how far it goes. Let's make it real now. Let's bring it to PMR and let's put it to test.
yeah,
And that's how I've been growing. Is I'll take certain examples. Okay, I want to try this. I want to do it, and we'll test it out and see how far it goes. Because now I know what the reality is, what the outcome is. It's up to me to make it real.
Right.
Mhm.
Oh, you're way ahead of me.
That's okay. We're all at different points, right?
Right.
So
Yeah. I found very, very funny all the stuff regarding the lab rats and the big cheese. And every time he plays like two guys talking to each other, like the
Yeah.
two guys in the lab, or other friends who are watching the football game, and all those dialogues, I was laughing out loud really, because he captures really the way we are.
mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was funny.
I think I heard him say in one of his videos that the larger conscious system, it has a built-in, comedy routine in it. So it's built into it, probably because doing fear work is so hard. If we didn't have that component, us humans would just go, hey, never mind.
Yeah.
This is just too
I-
hard. It's all
I
hard. and
think
there's
it's
no
called. I think it's called having fun.
Yes. Yes. I
Having
remember.
fun, enjoying yourself.
Right. Just briefly, when I first started really working on my meditations and going as deep as I go, and I could tell I was starting to interact with the system. And when I started feeling that, one day I said, so you're just a digital computer system. And then instantly, from that movie 2001 Space Odyssey,
Mhm.
Hal with that red
Yep.
that red light, instantly that light popped up in my imagination. It goes, yes. It just cracked me up. It's not something I would have thought of. I hadn't thought of that in years, so I
Right.
knew that was just its response to my query, so you're just a computer system. Yes. And it was that Hal creature thing. It was so funny.
I was watching a commercial where I think it had Hal or maybe some kind of sitcom, and it was someone was asking Hal the question, and it had difficulty understanding the question or didn't hear it properly, and it gave different results.
Oh,
Right?
that's
So
funny.
you say play a certain song, and it heard the title of the song incorrectly, and it played some other weird song.
I think it's built into the programming of our system to
Yeah,
put funny spin on it if you can.
yeah.
Probably
So-
not
Are there-
people that hate comedy though. Or maybe it gives them more comedy.
Cheryl, you mentioned that you in your meditation you were able to get closer to that sense of connecting with the LCS. That's one thing I want to talk about is what you guys' experiences are with meditation. I keep trying and I'm so mental that I'm one of those people that can only think about my breath for 10 seconds and then I'm off somewhere else and then I come back and I keep trying. But what all do you do?
Can I
And have
ask
you had experience?
how long have you been meditating?
Well, I've been trying to meditate for years. Like I go through a period of doing it for a while, and and I've taken a lot of classes at the Center for Spiritual Living when they promote meditation.
Oh, bless your heart. Have you tried Tom's tones, the binaural beats?
Yeah, I have. I don't have Tom's binaural beats though. I bought some from the Monroe Institute. There was
That's where it's at. I switched to Tom's binaural beats. That was it. I started
really?
getting into some really deep meditation with Tom's. Yes, he is the guru.
Cheryl,
No.
where did you get those? On
in-
the website?
They're on his website.
Yeah. You
But
can
when
buy
I
them or
switched-
download them.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, you can buy them or download them.
They're only like $25. It wasn't bad.
Yeah. I find them very effective as well.
You do too?
Yeah. I also use something, Leo, called Muse, M-U-S-E. It's a headset that goes along the forehead into just behind your earlobe. And what it does is it senses your EEG, your biofeedback. And it's an instantaneous response as to, if you're, how to, it sort of teaches you how to breathe in a certain way that allows you to relax and into a calm state. I find that really useful. And then I integrated the binaural beats with this Muse headset, and I got so deep in terms of meditation. It was really exciting. It was really cool.
Wow. Thank you.
You can buy those at Best Buy.
Good. I love Best Buy.
There's like an app. You like Best Buy, Leo? So is there an app that it integrates with that, Danielle?
Yeah, there is. So when you buy it, the Muse, there's an app that you can download, and what it does, there's I think 4 projects or 4 sessions. The first session is getting to understand the Muse, and in that session there's 10 chapters, let's say, and it shows you how to breathe, teaches how to breathe. And then there's also sections that has, okay, so you've got the monkey mind, so you can only meditate for 10 seconds, right? But just keep practicing. And even Tom says, you might be able to only meditate for 10 seconds, and then your mind becomes reactive again. Now try again and try to meditate for 10 and a half seconds. Right?
Yeah.
That's an improvement, right? So then just keep doing that. Just keep repeating until you get to 11 seconds and 12. And then next thing you know, you can meditate for a minute and hours.
The funny thing is my confidence I'm now able to believe what you just said, and which is why I'm meditating more, because in the past I meditated and I never felt like I could make progress. But but this sounds silly, but I've been practicing piano more than I ever did in my whole lifetime. It's because I'm performing now professionally. So I'm more dedicated to practicing, and I'm kind of amazed that it actually works. That I'm actually it's really getting freer, my playing and stuff like that.
Right.
So if I can do that with playing the piano, then I'm sure I can do it with
do that
meditation.
with meditation then,
You
right?
just have to keep doing it.
It's allowing yourself and practice, right?
Yeah.
Believing that you can do it, I guess, is the main thing.
Yeah, just showing up.
When I very first started meditating, I got an app, and it was Headspace, and it's a meditation app, and it sounds like somebody from the UK, so he has a really nice accent that's different than mine, so it kind of caught my attention, and it was interesting. And he goes through a guided meditation on there called Headspace. That's how I first got started. And then once I got my foot in the door and got it open, then I tried the Monroe Institute tapes. Those didn't work for me very well. They just kept putting me sound asleep. So then I kept clicking out just immediately. So then I switched to Tom's beats. Then I could meditate without clicking out. And that's when things got really interesting. And I started like, oh gosh, what is all this?
So sure, what's the difference between Tom's tapes and the Monroe tapes, or the audios?
Well, I feel like the difference is Tom understands the different, like, theta state and how the brain works, and I think he understands it a little bit deeper. And so in if you listen real close in Tom's beats, you can hear the tone and the frequencies shifting. So basically it feels like you're in a car and it's like shifting gears. And then as it shifts, eventually you'll feel it shift and you'll feel that theta click right into place. So I think he just understands how to get the brain into theta the best,
more effectively.
Yes. And
Okay.
I
That's
could
cool.
feel it. You could feel it like downshifting, and then
Wow.
next thing you know, when my brain hits theta, I always know I get, it sounds crazy, but I get this purple fog. So when I'm in I know immediately because I got purple fog. And it does it every single time. So that's how I know. And I can feel it in my body that I'm in a different consciousness. It's
Different
not alpha anymore.
Right.
Dorothy,
I know
we're not
with
Kansas anymore.
I know with one of our chats with Tom, he mentioned about the binaural beats where he would play it for a certain interval, and then he would change it a bit, like you said, Cheryl, because he doesn't want us to fall asleep
Yes.
while in that specific state. So he'll change it to a faster beat so that we waken up a bit, and then he brings it back down. So maybe that's the difference.
Right. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, go ahead.
The Monroe Institute tapes, I clicked out every single time. I couldn't even stay awake long enough to meditate. I felt rested, but it didn't do what I needed it to do. So I think that's the difference. Is Tom is working with those tones, and he's keeping you right at that line before you click out, and then I feel like I'm in a race car, Oh, here we go. We're going faster now. So I really like the tapes, but I have that thing in the back of my mind. Oh, you got to let those go. I don't want to, but I'm sure I'll do it in time. It's
Right.
only been, a year, so I'm going to keep using them until I'm ready.
Mhm. So the experiential that you're going to, Cheryl, is that the one in Tennessee?
Yes.
Oh, nice. I'm going in September.
Are you really?
Yeah.
So you're going right after us. I was
Yeah.
scheduled to go to the one in December,
Oh,
and
yeah?
yes, and the larger conscious system nudged me to death. So I emailed Keith and said, "Do you have any spots open anywhere sooner?"
Mhm.
And that very day, somebody had canceled, and it was the weirdest thing. So I'm going in 3 weeks. So yeah,
Nice.
it
See,
was.
LCS heard you and got you a spot.
Yeah, well, no, I was ready to go in December. I was just taking it as it rolls, just
Right.
accepted it as it came. And then it was just, this overwhelming. It was like that movie, Close Encounter of the Third Kind, where they were making those potatoes and it was trying to pull them all to that mountain.
Yeah.
It was
Mhm.
like that. It was like something I just had to do. It didn't feel like me, but it could have been. I don't know. I was happy to go in December. I wasn't impatient. It was just like
Right.
that potato sensation, call and see and find out. And it's like, this is just weird. So then when I contacted Keith, he goes, okay, this is just weird. I've had 4 people cancel out of this room with, her name's Pavatar. Had 4 people cancel. The last one just canceled today. And I said, oh, LCS was switching it around so that I could be in that one. I don't know why. Maybe it's the group of people. The consciousnesses will work out in a better way. I don't know. I just thought that it was really weird. But it's also learning to listen to those nudges and not just go, oh, that's just whatever. Because some of the nudges, if you don't listen to them, they just go away and fall off the radar. But then there's other ones that just is relentless. It won't leave you alone. I think that's just, it's trying to, nudge you and keep you on your path.
Right. It's like
Because we're
listening to the
in,
whisper.
right. Because we're in such a turmoil when you're first doing this work, right? There was days I didn't know which end was up. So I was glad I had something helping me, nudging me around, because some days was just very, very hard, and I didn't know what end is up. And you're just running
Right.
around so scared because you're in it, you're in that state. It was something else. But I'm
So,
glad I'm where I'm at. You'll get to your meditation. You'll get there. Get Tom's tapes.
okay, I will. I got it. So the way you talk about LCS having a sense of humor and nudging people, that's so much how in our spiritual practice, that's how we talk about God. I don't hear Tom talking about the LCS being so what's the word? Proactive. I get the impression from the book. He talks about that more when in the videos, but in the book, it just seems like he's talking about, well, it's just a system that's sort of evolving, and it's kind of leaving it up to us. And if we go this way and it works out good, then that's that lowers entropy, and that sort of lowers the entropy of the whole system. And if we don't, it's going to be like an evolutionary dead end. But I like the image of the nudger, and that's kind of the way we think about it. So
I don't have nudges every day. It's just
no.
specific things, like being at that other immersive event. I had a lot of nudges on that. I mean, it's just certain things. Most days, what I see in my experience is I can see the things bubbling up where I'm supposed to make a choice. And you can see the 2 things bubbling up. Like this one starts going counter to this one. And it's like, what are you going to choose? So I've started to me, the LCS does that more than anything else. Is it sets you up so that you have these choices. Then you have to make the choice, and either it raises entropy or it lowers it. So
Yeah.
in the beginning, I was raising it.
Right.
Let's being able to use our free will to make that choice, right? Instead of having fear decide for us.
Yes, yes, it is nice being able to make the choice for myself instead of running.
Well, another thing I was hoping we could discuss in this overview or summary was because Vanessa sounded like she's just going to start the thing up again at chapter 1, and we can continue if we want to, or hopefully new people would come too.
Yep.
And my reaction to that was like, I don't know that I really want to read the book again myself. He's got so many videos. Tom has so many, and it's like I just watched one called Tom Campbell Asheville, and it was from 2012, and I just watched because it was broken into 16 parts, because back in those days you couldn't put a whole long hour thing, multiple hours, so it's just segment 8 out of 16, and it's really, really cool. And so I'd sort of like to, I'm curious if you all would be interested in like watching a series like that. We could watch a segment or two each time, and then we could get back together and discuss what we heard, or something like that. Because the thing is, he did that 10 years after he wrote the book, and I think his ideas have. Well, I think I don't want to say his ideas have evolved, but because that makes it sound like he's changed his mind. But I just mean, I think it's gotten richer,
He's grown.
Yeah.
That's a great idea. That is such a good idea.
I would like to do that, because I'd like to.
It's a great idea, Leah. It's probably a totally separate group, but it's really kind of a cool idea, because you can go through, like, sequentially, and I don't even know how many videos there are. There's so many. Right?
He's got hundreds and hundreds of videos.
Yes.
Yeah, but I would want to do a one like that one in Asheville, and maybe that's not the right one because I don't know them all. But I wouldn't want to do, because he does a lot of these things where he does like an hour interview with somebody that has their own show, and he kind of starts over from scratch every time.
Yes.
And that's we don't want to do that.
No.
So I think one of these things that's really longer, like he's got somewhere where he was there for a couple days, So I don't know which one to recommend, but
well, Leo, why don't you do some homework and suggest one series, and then for all of us, I think there's about 8, 9, maybe even up to 10 people in the MBT book club that we might all be interested. I'll set up the Zoom calls and everything, and we can go from there.
Okay. Yeah, we have a say. What, you help me?
I'll help you, Leo.
Oh, great. Yeah, good. Yeah, anybody else wants
videos? I think I've watched them all.
Well, I certainly watched.
Even Tom says that the book was written based on what he knows, but as he's growing and learning, he's changed some things around.
Yes.
And it'd be nice to know what he's changed based on the videos, right?
It's a great idea. That's just a great idea, Leo.
Cool.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, so Cheryl and I have homework to do.
And as a coach, I love giving homework now.
We have a saying.
Is there anything else that we'd like to do, within this book group? Like, how can we increase our consciousness and lower entropy? How can we become more, what's the word he tries to keep telling us? How do we become more evolved, I guess, right? More profitable.
You know what I found something, and I call it bridging statements. And what I found is that when I'm actively in a fear, like, the experience that rolls around, there's your fear, right? I found that if I stand there and I go, okay, here we go, game hat on, game on. Okay, this is my fear of big dogs that's activated. And then I call them bridging statements. Just for an example, a big dog. There it is. It's off its leash coming towards you. The first thing you do is statement, all big dogs are not aggressive. And I could feel that shift within me. I could feel the fear shift and down-regulate to a feeling that wasn't, down to a feeling of, oh, just concern, you know, instead of just panic, you know, ah! So those bridging statements, and what I'm doing is I'm writing a little bit of a thing about how it works, what it is, because I found that it works so well with this work. Because I've tried a lot of other things, but this thing really works. So that when you're in the moment, and you know, if you know what, you know, I've kind of made a list of what my fears are. It's really long. So when I bump into one of my fears, then what I do is I write bridging statements about that fear. And then when I encounter it again in my experience to work on it and get it lower, I just start ticking off those statements because you remember them because they help so much. For instance, I would get fearful as soon as I would hear a lawnmower go off. And the bridging statement for that is, oh, it's not going to last forever. It's not even going to last more than 30 minutes. And immediately the fear, it just went away. So I'm sorry I get so excited about it, but I just found this tool and it's really helping me. I mean, before I was just, and trying to work through it and as I was in it. But this thing that I found, I mean, it just stops it. It's like,
Right.
So what I'm thinking it's doing, it's attaching logic to a fear that's not logical. So it's kind of like you're able to tell yourself, wait a minute, there's more information here. And if you knew this piece of information, then there's no reason to even be scared of that.
Mm-hmm.
So
Have you shared this with other people?
just now.
No, I mean, like, you know, on a blog or even on a video to the masses and say, you know, here's how I deal with fear.
Well, what I did is I don't know if y'all saw these. I made these bracelets. Can you see it? And I call them, they're my fear reducer bracelets. Oh, sorry. Can you see them? Can you see it?
Yeah.
Yep.
There's 4 beads on it. And so what I do is when I encounter one of my fears, each bead has a sentence and you memorize each sentence. The red bead is stop. You're not fit for human consumption. Stop what you're doing. The second bead is yellow and it means you're not in danger. Like you're really not in danger. You're just having a fear. You're physical. There's not a lion trying to eat you. The third one is take 3 deep breaths, which helps flip your system out of the sympathetic nervous system into the parasympathetic nervous system so that it automatically starts calming you back down.
Right.
Then the green bead is, all is well, everything's okay. By the time you get to the green bead, you've backed yourself out of the fight or flight response, which is our fear response. Then you can use your logic to do those bridging statements. But you can't do it if you're in fight or flight panic. You can't do the bridging statements because your decision space drops to 3 bad choices: fight, flee, or freeze.
Right.
And so this stops the decision space drop so that you can still think. And so what I did is I made a bunch of bracelets and I put them on eBay and it's for panic attacks. I just put it for panic attacks, for people that have panic attacks. You have panic attacks, it's mind over matter. You use your mind to stop the response. And it also, you know how your fight or flight system, it releases cortisol and all adrenaline and all those chemicals, all those nasty chemicals that are hard on our body. What I found is that it stops that chemical cascade completely, dead in its tracks. So yes, you can go to eBay. I'm not trying to sell nobody nothing. I'm just telling you what I did. You can go look at it if you want. I'll send y'all one for free. It's not. But it's on eBay and it's called PTSD, post-traumatic stress, PTSD magic bracelet.
Right.
So that's what I did. And ever since I did that, I don't have those panicky things anymore. So I can think about what's going on instead of going up. Well, there was that fear again. Okay, I need to wait 2 hours till I feel better, and that kind of thing.
That's good. I think using a bracelet helps because then you don't have, it's not in your mind. Now you're looking at something physical and says, okay, what's the process?
Mm-hmm. Because your
Right.
mind, you can't use your mind because it's down to 3 decision space, 3 bad
Yeah,
ones.
exactly.
They're not even good choices.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Fight, okay, that'll put you in jail. Okay, well, you can freeze. Well, that's not going to do nothing. It only works in the natural world with predators because when you freeze, you become invisible. Great. Well, if a lion's trying to eat you, invisible's good. But in this world, you know, when you've dropped something on the floor and it made a loud crash noise, you know, it's not a lion or nothing. Well, freeze does nothing. It doesn't clean up the mess. I think this may be a simulation to see if you can take human spider monkeys out of nature and throw them into a crazy environment if their fight or flight system can right itself. I know, does that sound crazy? I mean, because simulations are always for a reason in our world, right? They don't just run them to run them. They're for a reason.
Yeah, there has to be a purpose behind it,
Yeah.
right?
So, and I was thinking about it. It's like, well, you know, Tom says that all of our problems, everything's it's because of our fear. And it's like, okay, well, we have a fear response within our brain. And so it's part of the, what's that called? The rule set. So it's part of the rule set that we have a fear system that's getting kicked off. Okay, well, but it's getting kicked off in situations where we're not in danger. It's being triggered because we're in an unnatural environment, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this story it goes on. Somebody asked Tom, well, what do you think about the PTSD and triggers? How's somebody supposed to work through their fear when they're having these trigger fear responses? And he said, I probably don't understand it completely, but he said, well, that could be a cop-out. And I understand what he says. Somebody could say, well, I have PTSD, so I can't work on my fear because it just happens to me. I can see how that could be. Because if you do have a hair trigger on your fear response and you've got something like that, well, because some people do, war veterans, and I'm a retired registered nurse, and I'm sorry, it got my fear response, and mine has a hair trigger too. And so I don't know, you know, having PTSD and having triggers, but I could have misunderstood what he meant by that. So I don't really understand. That's why this Sunday, I'm going to pose a question to Tom and ask him about that. About
Are you going to go on the Fireside Chat?
Yes, and I'm going to ask him about this very same thing. It's like, okay,
nice.
If your fear response has been triggered, your decision space has just dropped to only 3 choices that aren't going to help you. So how are you supposed to think about what fear is this, or what can I learn from this? You can't. So that's the question. It's going to be Sunday. I'm going to ask it. I'm a little intimidated by it. But
you might say, don't get into that position. Don't get into that predicament right off the bat.
What? Oh, right.
Don't get into fear right
away. And
yeah.
I mean,
I'd be interested to see what he says.
He doesn't talk a lot about our instinctual fear response, and it's instinctual. But he does talk about primal male, primal female. He does go into those instincts.
Mm-hmm.
Probably because men and women are having a hard time getting along these days. So he's going in to discuss that, so to help that situation, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, but I've never heard him go into our instinctual. It's our instinctual danger response is what it is.
Yeah.
So I'm really curious about that.
Goes back to the caveman days, right? In terms of survival.
Yes.
It's all it is, right? So
anyway, that's my take on it. I'll shut up now. But that's
Christine, I was going to ask you, remember you brought up, before you moved into your house, you had this neighbor that was really mean to you, and you sent him flowers.
Oh, awesome.
What's that?
Anything new with that? Like, have you talked to him since then, or?
Yeah, I won him over. It worked.
Good.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Right. So yeah, I think that, you know what, in that particular situation, I feel like a lot of the times people just want to be like acknowledged, right, and heard. And in that particular situation, he was inconvenienced by something that I was doing. And I just felt like it was, I don't know, I was inspired to do it just randomly. And I do think it was a good tactic. I'm going to keep that one in my back pocket from now on. It worked out. So, good.
Buying your neighbor a flower card, right? Pull it out.
That's right. Give people things, right?
I bet he was shocked.
You
I bet he
think?
was shocked. Yes. Because these days, people don't acknowledge when people don't feel good, or, you know, they're having a hard time. It's that thing. Suck it up, you know, and this is hard. Life is hard. And on top of it, we have all this stuff making our fight or flight trigger all the time. And when that happens, you have no control. So it's like, please, somebody send me some flowers.
Have you spoken with him since?
Only really in passing, but I gotta tell you, what a difference in demeanor, right?
Yeah.
So I'll see him, you know, outside and stuff, but a big difference.
Yeah. Did he bring up the fact about these flowers or no?
Yeah, he said, thank you very much. That was very nice. And he said, I think he travels. So he said he was on a month-long trip. He said, so I brought him with me, and you know,
Wow.
he was appreciative.
Oh, nice.
Yep.
That's a good story.
Yeah, it was a good start.
Right.
We got off on a little bit of a shaky footing there initially, but it worked out fine.
I told my sister, she had that happen with her neighbor downstairs. And I told my sister, I said, Donna, it's okay. I said, usually what's going on is he's not be scared of something. He just moved in. He doesn't know what's going on. He doesn't know where he's at, you know. So next time you see him, just, you know, see if you can react a little bit differently and see what happens. So she calls me like a week later. She goes, oh my goodness, I saw my downstairs neighbor, and I walked up to him and shook his hand and said, welcome to the neighborhood, even though he'd been kind of tacky to her. She shook his hand, welcome to the, you know, where we're living at, and everything's nice around here, and everything's going to be okay. And within like 2 or 3 days, he bought her a wind chime.
Oh.
He bought her a wind chime, and she put it up there, so I didn't hear anything else about my neighbor downstairs is awful. So just being kind sure does help. But when somebody comes in, it feels like you're being attacked. It's hard to be kind when you feel that way. But do you find it's easier since you started working with My Big Toe work?
I don't know.
Or was you always nice?
I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. I feel like when, you know, Mao and Cheryl, what you were saying, talking about it being challenging, what I do, like reading this book and kind of thinking about these types of things, what I find challenging is that it's like, I don't want to be judgmental of other people, right? And sometimes I feel like having that insight into their decision-making process is being judgmental, right? So like somebody is behaving poorly in my eyes, right? And you know, just decisions about like having certain people in your life or not, I think that's a complicated question, right? And I think that sometimes if you sort of choose not to pursue a relationship, it's like a judgment. You are judging them, right? Like, this is no longer a good fit for me. And I don't know, I find that hard to deal with, you know?
I mean, you find it hard to deal with, like, in that you know that what's going on, you know more about what's going on, and everybody's operating with a lot of fear, and you don't want to increase it. And like,
well, it's like, you know, that like, I feel like I've heard Tom say things like, okay, that person's a pain in the butt, right? But you love them anyways. And at some point you're like, no, that's not going to work for me. Like that's not just good. That's not going to work anymore. And I don't know. I just feel like I'm not clear on. So there are things like the reason Leo, I'm kind of all over the place here, but Leo, like you're like, I don't want to read this book. I want to read this book again because I still think there's more for me to understand in it. Because, for example, I don't totally understand whether it is a digital system that's just some computer, or are there manipulations as to who we meet and how we interact with people and situations in our lives, right? I don't know if I have the clear, deep understanding as to what that larger consciousness system is. Is it neutral, or is it benevolent, right? Or is it somewhere in between,
Yeah.
It's like a part-time kind of thing.
My experience, it's all about the growth. It's all about the growth. And every time I worked through a fear, then it'll bring it to me in like 4 or 5 different scenarios. It's the same exact one, but it's shown to me in a different way so that I can really get it down into my being level and understand that thing that I was working on. And then it's like, then once I really get it down in my being level, then it switches and on to the next one. Then I'll get that one after the other. So I can feel it switching from each fear. And as I work my fear of big dogs down, then all of a sudden, even after I got it down in my being level, I still got a few more after that, but then it's completely quit now. Now it's on to the next one. So I think that the system is aware, and it's aware of us, and it's all about the growth. That's all it's about. It's growth. Because if that's true, that the system has to grow or die, grow and evolve or die, that would make sense, because that's in everything I do and all of my experience that I've seen this last 2 years, it's all about the growth. And as soon as I said as soon as I set my intent, I wanted to grow and reduce my entropy. Oh, it was like the magic carpet got pulled out from underneath my feet, because I just got all of my fears in rapid fire succession, and I wasn't really ready for that. So in my personal experience that I know I experienced it, it's been all about the growth and my specific fears, and it makes sure that it brings specifically my fears to me in my data stream, and it uses my family to do it. It uses whatever's there. It doesn't care. It does not care. It will get you in a crossways links with somebody you really care about if it knows it can work you on your fear, help you work on your fear. It don't care.
I think that's a really interesting question. So that conversation was really cool, because Christine said, is it benevolent? And I think, the traditional sort of spiritual view that I'm familiar with is, yes, God or LCS is benevolent, and it's always working for our good. In fact, there's a saying, the universe is in a conspiracy for your good. And that kind of, that feels right to me in a certain way. But I also believe that the universe or LCS is also us, and we are it. And so the thing about Cheryl noticing that everything seems to be lining up so she can have these experiences, and that's doing her good, it's because she asked for that. She set the intention that she wanted to have that experience. So that's something I really do believe, that the system can figure out stuff. If you set the intention, the system is intelligent enough to figure out how to make it happen. And it's the benevolence is because it was your intention. And I think there is some benevolence kind of built into the system too, because of it, just the way it naturally wants to evolve towards love. That's the way Tom describes it. So it's kind of a combination, but I think this.
Sorry. So many things that happen in a lifetime, right? That don't at least consciously, right, happen because of an intention, do they? Or do you think everything's sort of a result of your intent?
Well, you can live your life without intending anything particularly. You just kind of accept what comes.
Mm-hmm.
In which case you're sort of wasting your time, if you will, in Tom's model, you know. You know what I
I
mean?
was gonna say, is that worth living, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So yeah, if you're not setting intention, then things will just happen to you.
Mm-hmm.
And also, you know, it's also true that we're living in a world with other consciousness systems interacting. So not everything that happens is a result of because we wanted it to happen. But I think
Randomness, that's the random piece.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I think overall the system is set up, and the reason why we're here, it's set up so that we can learn and grow, but we also have free will. So we sort of don't have to learn and grow if we don't want to.
Life gets hard if you don't. It does. It did for me anyway. I don't know about anybody else, but when I wasn't actively working on my spiritual growth, it just kept getting worse and worse and worse. It did. And it got a whole lot better really quickly in the last 2 years. So
That's because, do you think that's because you set the intent and wanting to learn more about spirituality?
Well, I think that it was both the carrot thing, and because I had so much fear, it was affecting my health. And I became extremely ill, so I really didn't have a choice. I needed to do something or be done. So that's
Right.
kind of how.
But you did something though, right?
Oh yeah, well yeah, I did something. I LCS just slid Tom's work right onto my plate, and I went, oh, what's this? Oh, I want to work on my fear, and it was like a tidal wave. Pow.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Well, there's a saying that I love using. It's what you focus on expands, right? So the more focus you have on something, the more you
yes.
attract of that thing, and it sort of comes to light, and you kind of wonder why that happens. But you know, it's always been around us. It's just that for some odd reason, when you're focusing on something, you become more aware of this of what's around you, that specific
Yes.
thing, and it allows you to take action.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And that becomes your free will, right? Do I do it or don't I do it? It's up to you,
Right.
right? So I find that really powerful in terms of setting the intention or just focusing on what it is that you want, and you have all these opportunities come up to you now, and it's up to you to decide, okay, do I want to, I always tell my clients, do I want to open that door or do I want to leave it shut?
Yeah.
Right. It's
Well,
up to you.
I felt like I was kind of painted into a corner in my life. And for me to get out of that corner, I had to work on myself. That's what it felt like. It was like, well, Tom's talked about it. Your decision space just keeps shutting down until you don't have a very big decision space, and your life gets miserable. Mine did, and I got tired of being miserable. So I started seeking and looking for, what's going on here, and is there anything I can do about it? So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. I don't see it as I can feel like a good feeling when I'm in meditation, when I'm in theta, because I can feel this good energy or whatever it is in there. A lot of people have talked about it. I can feel it. But as far as my day-to-day world, I don't really see a lot of benevolence. I just see me doing work, and maybe I'm missing it. Maybe I don't see it because I don't, I'm not real, religious, or I wasn't real spiritual before a lot of this work. So I don't know. I could be missing that piece of it, where it may be being benevolent to me, and I just don't see it.
Hard to say.
Hard to say.
Yeah.
What's your experience with it?
Hmm.
Oh,
I
he
don't
already
know.
said.
Yeah. No, I think I'm like Christine said, I don't know. I would like to go through the book again and see if I can get a clearer on understanding, because right now I think that the way Tom's theory is at this stage for me is like it could be either. It could be either. We could be just in the larger consciousness system could care nothing about us. Absolutely. It could say, this is just another experiment. Another one of a huge number of possibilities. So, and in that case, I think, is all the suffering that we go through worth just to see the result of another experiment?
I
Oh
know.
my God.
I think
No,
too.
no. Yeah, that's a terrible scenario.
Oh,
On the other hand, it
It's
could
just
be,
a simulation, though. You got to remember that, right?
yeah, but even I'm not talking just about PMR, not just about PMR, but even in NPMR, the whole thing,
the
the
whole
whole
thing.
thing could just be another possibility out of trillions, quintillions of possibilities.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of doubts, like, for example, if that's the case, why do we feel pain or pleasure? What for? I mean, if there are just trials and errors, why are we built the way we are? And maybe we are built the way we are because it's just another possibility.
Right?
Yeah, let's see if it evolves. If it evolves even in the middle of huge suffering, but it's alive, let it be alive.
Right. See, that's
All the
what,
way to the end. So
right.
yeah,
Oh,
that's kind of a very pessimistic scenario. I understand that.
but it's there. It's
But
there.
it could be there, and
We
I don't
could be
know.
suffering to keep this big thing alive, and we may not even, if we knew what it was, we may not even want it to be alive.
Yeah.
But it's a profitable experience based
Yeah.
on the current negative situation that we're in, right? Which is an overall a win.
Well, yeah, but I don't know. But at least the recorded history that we have uh, always seems to be full of pain and suffering. There's also pleasure, but
Yes.
I think that is more like sparkles of pleasure here and there. And well, that's one scenario. Another scenario could be, as you were saying, that no, the larger consciousness system effectively has a way of trying to get something better for the whole thing. But what is better besides just survival? Because survival can be anything. What is better? More pleasure? Less pleasure? No pleasure at all? Going beyond that? All those things seems... I didn't get those things clear from reading the book. And maybe they are not there. I don't know. But those things are really, in these days, really bothering me. Yeah, my head is kind of spinning with those kind of things. And I think a good point is to read again and see what comes out of it. But yeah.
So when do you think is a good time to restart?
Anytime for me. I'm ready. Yeah. Next week it's okay. Yeah. Absolutely. Really. Yeah.
I know in this
Well,
book it says if you're going to reread it again, start at section 2. So would that be a good suggestion, or do you want to start from section 1 again?
I think that section...
You mean
I think that section 1 could be the right way to go right from the start, probably.
Yeah. Section 1 is the sort of a little bit about himself and what he did when he was working at NASA, I think, and then growing up, getting involved with Robert Monroe.
Oh, okay, yeah, I remember.
The thing of his childhood and that experience, those out-of-body experiences, that's really interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But as you say, guys, if you think that starting at chapter 2 is okay, it's fine for me too, really. No
Right.
problem.
Well,
Okay.
maybe we do it. I mean, that book one is a lot
Oh.
easier of a read than further along, right? So I just ordered this morning, all 3 books because I had the big one and it fell apart during the process.
I saw it because you
Pretty
showed it to
large
us.
chunks. So I just ordered the books this morning. But maybe we just read that first part faster,
Mm,
Mm,
right?
Sure.
okay, sure.
So instead of doing 10 to 20 pages, we do, I don't know, 40, whatever everybody's comfortable with.
yeah.
We get through it faster.
Right.
Yeah,
Okay.
I
Sounds
mean,
okay.
good.
there's no race. There's no end game here, right?
Yeah. Oh, we can play it by ear and see what we're comfortable with, right?
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Let me
How
talk to
about,
Vanessa and see when she wants to start again, and let's make it happen.
All right, guys.
'Cause
okay.
I think I
Had a
would
good
really like to do it again. I always use this analogy where we're on this ladder, and now that we finished the book, we can take another step up on the ladder, and now because we're on a higher level, we see more things, and rereading this book allows us to be more conscious or aware of other things as we're rereading it.
Yeah,
And
exactly. Mm-hmm.
there'll be times where I say, hey, I don't remember reading about this part, or I don't remember, or when I'm reading the next section, it'll say, okay, yeah, now I understand why this is so, because we have the ability to, because we've grown, we've evolved, we better understand what Tom's trying to tell us in that specific section.
Yes, exactly. Mm-hmm. So,
So that's why I want to read it. I want to get a more deeper understanding of what Tom is trying to convey to us.
yes, me too. So we'll be in touch through the WhatsApp group.
Yeah.
All right, great.
Anything
Leo,
else you want to cover? I know we've got about 23 minutes or so.
Oh yeah.
Or
Good. I like
that's in the recording, but I don't know what time is it do we have here? Three. Yeah, we got about 23 minutes.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Do you want to cut it short, or do you want to talk about some other things?
I think it was it's a good, maybe a good time to wrap up, right? Do another
Okay.
round table. I thought this was pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, this was
Yeah.
fun. Thanks.
Okay, Leo. Since you're on the right of my diagram here, I'll let you go first. Any insights? What would you like to share? Final thoughts?
Just to wrap up, yeah, I agree. I think this was a good talk. I'm glad we did it. And yeah, I'm curious to see. Well, I will do the homework because that's the job that I saw. And when you see a job, it's yours.
Yeah.
So
I'm looking forward to that. I think that'll be a very good discussion.
Yeah.
yeah, and I'm looking forward to coming and meeting Tom in July in
Oh,
Vancouver.
cool.
Are you going to be there, Daniel?
Well, that's right. You're coming. Well, I'll get to meet you as well.
Yeah, yeah. And so if I have any, I have so many questions that I would ask Tom if I had the chance. So I'm not sure how many I can squeeze in, and some of them are just
You should go on the fireside chat with.
yeah. I'll have to see. We have a real busy weekend, but I should try to figure that out. But some of the questions are just super technical, like, well, how does that work? And then some of them are more you might call them spiritual, or to me that's the practical side. It's like, what do you do with this? So
Right.
I have that whole range of questions.
Cool.
That's it for
Christine?
me.
Guys, thank you. I really enjoyed this. I think it was a little bit different, kind of not having the format of the book, right, as a guide. So it was just more of a free form conversation. And it's nice when you kind of can get to know people a little more and hear insights that aren't necessarily directly related to like a particular line. So very good. And I look forward to seeing all of you at our next go round, right?
Yeah. Cheryl?
It was so good to meet everybody, and I've really enjoyed my time here. And I, like Christina says, I think that the free form, we could use this format for like the video section of it, if we do that, and then the book can be more of the structured thing. I think that that's just such a good idea to have both the structured thing and the more free flowing thing. That way you get both right and left brain stuff going at the same time. Right?
Exactly. Exactly.
Right.
So yeah, I'm really interested in doing that. And Leo, I'll help you out. I'll pull out my favorite videos and see if you find them all to be favorites too.
Great.
Nice.
And thank you guys for having me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mal, how about you? Any final words?
Oh, yeah. Well, just wanted to let you know that this session was great. I agree. Great, great. And I'm shocked. I'm shocked by the fact that even that though we are in different parts of the world and physically far away from each other and beyond the cultural beliefs that we might have had or might still have, the fact of being sharing with you guys is an indication to me that whatever it is, something very profound is going on in the world, and something is happening here because we are really getting out of a box or of the center or something. Yeah, I'm not being precise at all, but something really important is going on, definitely, with things like Westworld or The Matrix, or the fact that we five are here talking about this indicates that something is going on, and
Yes.
what it is exactly, I don't know, but it feels huge anyway. So thank you very much, guys. Thank
Mal,
you.
I just had a thought. What if we were able to do this without using Zoom?
Wow.
Like being able to communicate
Oh,
telepathically.
Like, I don't get
It would be awesome.
maybe this is the first step of us learning how to do that.
Well,
Yeah.
I think I even brought that up in the conversation. What if we're able to do this without, the technology? Technology is just one way of helping us get there, right?
Right?
Yeah.
It's just a tool. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a tool. It's just a stepping stone, right? What if we're able to, once we figure out how to master it?
Exactly. Yeah, maybe these are our baby steps to really get together.
Yeah.
See, it's
So
all about
I'm
the
looking
growth.
forward to that. It sounds scary. Everyone's like, "Whoa, is that possible?" And there's no way that can be possible. But how do we know?
Who knows?
Who knows exactly?
Mhm. Yeah.
Me, I'd like
What
to
about
thank
you,
everyone.
Daniel?
I think I had a wonderful experience. It's allowed me to have a deeper meaning of how all the stuff works and how we can be creative and just allowing things to happen where we all trust each other. We're open to all our comments and we don't judge each other. I think that's really cool. And I can't wait to do this again. And then I can't wait for Leo with your suggestion as to what videos to listen to and have a deeper discussion about those things, those videos.
Yeah.
So I'd like to thank you all.
Thank you, guys.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Bye,
Love.
guys. Good night.
So,
Bye.
so I'll have the video up shortly, and yeah, have a great weekend, and we'll reconvene at a later date with the videos, and Vanessa and I will talk about when to restart the book group again.
Awesome.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay,
Thank you, Daniel. Thank
Bye,
you.
everybody.
Daniel.
everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.